Hello?
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 Hello. Welcome to Curiosity Cove. My name's Veda.
My name's Dag.
And I'm your trusty captain speaking, and today we'll be talking about
Space
and stars.
and
And
the
stars.
stars.
Sorry, I forgot the second part.
How are you guys? What's up?
Today was a very adventurous day.
Why?
I was
Fine.
doing deliveries, and I was on my last delivery, and it was like a 20-minute drive, and I was driving. Everything was fine, and the funny thing is, right before my car had its little thing, I cut off my sister-in-law unknowingly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait,
I had to
really?
Yeah, so I was driving. It was down this road, down this main road, and there's this university that's to the right of me, and I was in the left lane, and I need to get over to the right because I was changing music on my phone, and so I was like, okay, and this person would not let me in, so I sped forward, and the right turn was coming up too quickly. So damn it! So I cut off the person in front trying to make that turn. I was like, damn it! So I got over left and um was gonna turn left to make a U-turn to come back, and I look over and it's my sister-in-law, and I was like, no way, no
Oh my
way.
god, wait, and you
I was like,
you cut her off like an ass? Or
yeah, I was like, damn it, because I was just shaking my head. It's like, dude, I could have made that turn if that person would let me in. And I look over and she just sticks her tongue out at me. I'm like,
oh my
I didn't.
god.
And I was like, and I rolled down my window. I was like, I wasn't shaking my head at you. It's like, and then so the light goes green. She drives
Wait,
off.
that's so funny.
Yeah, I turned left. I turned left to go into one of these dealerships, and I call her just to explain. And then I'm coming back out, and I was like, hey, it's like, sorry, the two cars behind you wouldn't let me in, so I had to speed up to try to make that turn, and then blah blah blah. And so I'm heading into the university, and I'm turning left, and my car just it sounds like I have an iron bar going over one of those cattle grates.
Mm.
Do, 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 do. I'm
Yeah,
like, what
yeah,
the hell
yeah.
is that
Oh
noise? And
God.
so I pull over, and my sister-in-law was like, is that your car knocking? I was like, yeah, I think my car just broke. And so I sat there, and
Jesus.
I look out, and my car's been leaking. It's a 2003 Tahoe, and so it's like it leaks, it bleeds, and so I'm looking out, and it's leaking a lot. I'm like, what the hell? And so the delivery is right there. I'm still making it, and so I go and I drop it off, and then I'm coming back, and it's just it was fine, but when I go into second gear, it just makes that knocking sound. So I pull over, I call my dad, and I'm like, hey, it's truck's acting up. I'm gonna call AAA. He's like, okay, I'll come see you. He's like, okay, I'll be over there in 15 minutes. And so I'm just waiting there, and then a campus security comes over, and it's like, hey, you good? Because it's weird that this person that doesn't belong there is just sitting on the side of the road.
So you're a big
Yeah.
dude. What the fuck you doing here?
Yeah. And I usually wear comfortable stuff, so I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt and a hat and just chilling on my phone, Instagram, and then I just hear it's like, hey man. I look over and it's this old guy and with this huge handlebar mustache, and it's like what's going on? I was like, oh, my car broke down, and there's just a trail of oil in the sand behind me.
So bad.
And I'm like, yeah, this my car broke down. I just called my parents. They're gonna come see if we need a tow or not.
Oh
And then they're
my
like, okay, let
god.
me know if you need anything. And then 5-10 minutes later, this officer shows up behind me, and he's just chilling. And so he starts walking up, and I explain to him the whole story. He's like, okay, is there anything that you need? It's like, no, we're gonna get this figured out one night. So I'm sitting there, and my my dad finally comes over, and he's like, I was like, oh yeah, there's no pool of oil, so it's you're fine. It's not breaking the oil pan or anything like that. We'll go get it figured out, and then we getting it towed, and it's an hour later that we had to wait until that got figured out. But on the shining note is that while me and my dad were waiting there, my brother called me, and he let us know that they are pregnant.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
with twins.
So
Whoa.
I
cute.
know. And they're they've been
Twins.
trying forever because he's 34, and so they went through a specialist and everything like that. So fingers crossed that everything goes well with that. Because I already have two little shits that I love,
Love.
and I'm the punk,
Yep.
and I'm the punkle, so I have to show up for that.
Yeah. Oh, cute.
Yeah. So It
What an
sucks, but
eventful
at the same
day.
time, yeah, it sucks, but at the same time, everything was good. So we're gonna get that figured
Yeah.
out. I won't know until like next week
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be
Cap, how was
determined if
your
I go to
day?
San Diego or not.
It was pretty chill. I had a really slow day at work. So we got out a little bit early, ran over to a bar with my parents and had some really
Ooh,
awesome greasy bar food. It was amazing. It just hit. It was awesome.
Mhm.
And now I'm excited for podcasts. I'm excited to chat off for this stuff.
yeah.
Nice.
How's your day, Veda?
Also
Or
pretty
your week?
eventful. Yeah, I know. For like the first time, I think in our friendship, we went a whole week without talking.
I know. We were just
Like,
talking about that. I was like, wait,
I
is this
mean,
the first time in a while?
I was
What the
sick
fuck?
for a really big portion of the last week. Like after
I'm
the
still sick.
yeah, I'm coming off of like a sinus infection, and so like I haven't
Aw.
really been. I've been in mute chats a lot, to be
Yeah.
completely honest. Um, but yeah, so my favorite coworker and I
Mhm.
today
So
at
Abby.
work. Yes, Abby, of course. Oh, I got to see Ruth today though, the new dog that comes around. Cause she's got like trust issues, so her owner
Oh yeah,
brings
you guys
brings
got
her
another one.
around to like have people, and she's so much better. Just like within a week, she's so much better. She like
Aw,
went and explored my office, and she like came up and like actually took the treat from me and everything. So it's like so sweet to see her like start to trust people.
that's so
Um, but
cute.
on top of that, my favorite coworker, he came in and he was like, he sat down in front of my desk, and he's the head engineer.
Oh my
And
god.
so he like sat down and he looked at me, and I was like, yes. And he goes, are you on the phone? And I said, no. And he goes, I finished Fallout. And I said, oh, bitch. And so,
Oh,
so we sat there, we talked about Fallout for like an hour and a half.
it's
Me and
so
Tank
good.
finished watching it yesterday as well.
Oh, really? Okay, so wait.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Possible spoiler alert. Wait, what'd you guys
Spoiler
think?
alert, 100%.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Oh
Yeah, oh
my
yeah.
god. Okay,
I've
but
Oh
been
did
my
you
god,
playing.
guys
it's so
both
good.
did you both
Yeah,
play all the games? Or like
No.
well,
I
I guess
played.
like played 3 New Vegas and 4.
Yeah,
No.
I played. I've been playing since 2007. But tried to play like the earlier games, like the
Mhm.
MOS games, or like Fallout Tactics and whatnot, and it was very slow compared to the other
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
So, although the lore and stuff is important there, I'd rather just watch a video on those games to see if anything.
So that's
like,
exactly what I did,
you know.
because I tried playing the first one and I just could not. I loved New Vegas, that is my shit, but I
Yeah.
Mhm.
could not get into the first game for the life of me, even though I
Aw.
tried. So I just looked up a video explaining like all the lore that you find in the first Fallout and the
Mhm.
second one. But wait, Cap, have you played any of them?
I played none of them, no. I just know
Really?
about some of the lore behind it just because I think it's an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't. Oh, and I have been watching Veluxy play it on stream.
Okay, okay.
So if
Are
that counts. 'Cause
you
she's gone through 3 New Vegas and I think she's playing through 4 right now.
excellent? Do you
Yeah,
He's
have
there
any
already.
like?
Oh,
I think so.
Well, I mean, I don't think New Vegas is what you make it, and then 3 I don't think is a super long game, anyways, right?
no, you can get done with it in with like a few hours. Like if
Yeah,
you just go straight through this main missions, you can get
yeah,
done with it like that. But
exactly.
there's so much side stuff
Mm.
that yeah, it
I
wasn't
feel like
until our Dungeons and Dragons talked about that I realized that Fallout 3 is very D&D like with the whole like ap- application of points and
yeah, it's the
whatnot,
special
chances.
stats
I
and
was like,
stuff.
oh, this is
Mhm.
so cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that was one of the things that I really liked about it was I liked when I started playing Fallout, I was way younger, and
Hmm.
I had always wanted to like get into Dungeons and Dragons because I had like watched people play it. I had cousins who were like into it, and like um the one of the guys who babysat us was like a huge D&D nerd, and so he
Mhm.
kind of like taught us how to play, and I always wanted to be part of it, and it was very like reminiscent of that when I was assigning like special stats. So I
Mhm.
got really excited. I loved Fallout so much, and then the show just like blew my expectations out of the water.
Dude, the
Honestly.
opening scene is probably my all-time favorite thing. I actually want to watch it
Yeah,
again.
they
Yeah.
nailed it with the
It was so
Yeah.
good.
they nailed it.
And
Spoilers.
yes. I won't say specifically, but like the double reveal at the end was like
Yeah. Mhm.
It
chef's
was very
kiss.
good.
Because if
It was
you
really good.
and
I like that this show, like, you didn't have to play the games in order to
Yes.
love the show, but also I love all the, like,
Easter
jaw-dropping,
eggs?
like, oh my god, they did not
Yes.
things. There's so many.
One of the things that me and my coworker were talking about is I love that their Easter eggs or like the placement of things that we would understand, like either the way that somebody is talking or like a pose that somebody makes or a location that's mentioned, anything like that that is relevant to like the games. It is so subtle that you as a non-player would never know that that's a nod to a game.
Yeah.
Like, they don't
Yeah.
overplay it to be like, remember from the one game? Yeah, remember? They don't do any of that. And I love that. It's not too fan servicey.
Yeah. Like, when they were going around in that one meeting and talking about, like,
Vault.
how things could play out. Yeah.
Mhm.
How,
Yeah.
like, Vault can, like, do their thing. And then they made a nod to one of the vaults in Fallout 3. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I didn't play Fallout 3, I would have not known that.
Yeah. But it seems so natural that, like, as if even if you
That's the
didn't play
origin.
the games, like, there's no breaking of immersion because you're like, oh, they're trying to make a reference that I don't understand. Like, they just they intertwined
very
everything
nice.
so well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
agree.
But yeah, I got to have like a huge ass conversation about that, which was nice. And then the crazy shit started happening when I got like towards the end of the day. So I watched a movie today with Tom Holland in it called Cherry. Have you guys heard of this?
Yes.
It is a wild ride.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the?
Is it the Voices one?
No, it's the one.
Okay,
So
good.
he's
Because that one's crazy too.
He's like a kid who from Ohio who like doesn't really give a shit about anything, and then he falls in love with a girl, and then he just like she decides that they need to break up, so he decides to join the army. And then they get back together and they get hitched so that he can go to the army and she can finish school or whatever. Then he goes overseas and some fucked up shit in Iraq like messes with his head, so he gets PTSD, right? And he comes back and they both become dope addicts. And it is
Jesus.
And then it leads to him robbing banks. And it's like the most wild ride I have been on in a movie. It's 2 hours long. I watched it during the last 2 hours of work, and dude, honestly, I laughed, I cried, I was like, because the one thing that they captured really, really well was like when the PTSD sets in. Because like I've had a lot of friends who have been in and out of the army, and the way that they described it to me, like when you like this is gonna be the shit that fucks me up. Yeah. They captured that moment, and so like I was getting choked up because like
that's so cool. I love when movies can show that experience, that emotion so well.
I'm like that with mental illness, like Ted Lasso, the writers of Ted Lasso, or or I mean they captured like the feeling of having a panic attack in public. They encapsulated that so well with the way that scene was done that like I thought I was gonna have a panic attack watching it.
Oh no.
But I love when writers and actors can like come together to make that stuff
come to life.
Yeah, because it's hard to explain, and you wish that you could show someone. And so now when I'm like trying to explain to somebody what a panic attack is like, I pull up that scene from Ted Lasso because I'm like, this is the best way that I can show you what happens. But yeah, I watched that movie and then I was like, damn, that's insane. Got in the car on the way home, rediscovered a love for 21 Pilots for some reason on the way home.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, I have no interest in listening to them again after today. It was just like on for some weird reason.
Just the
like
drive home, it had to be them.
It was them and All American Rejects. Gives You Hell came on, and I forgot how much of a banger that song is. So I listened to it like 3 times in a row, and then the next one was 21 Pilots. I said, fuck it, I'm going to the album. So
just reminisce this one car ride,
yeah,
and that is it.
Yeah. And then I got home, and this is the weirdest part of my day. I fell down a rabbit hole of
I thought you meant fell down. Period.
It's gonna
yeah,
laugh
I
at
just
you.
I
Okay, go ahead.
tripped and ate shit when I got home, and that's it. That's my day.
Roll me.
No, I opened up my YouTube, and there was a video. Have you ever seen the channel Jubilee, and they do like the meet in the middle, where they have people from opposing sides of arguments talk it out?
No.
Maybe. I think I've like. Do they sit on chairs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the format is that they have like 4 people on each side. And so they'll have like so for this one, it was the Mormon church. And so on one side they had Mormons, and on the other side they had ex-Mormons, and they were talking about topics within the Mormon culture. And so I went on a very, very deep rabbit hole of Mormon culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's on because I don't know enough to actually give any insight on it. That's where I'm going to drop it.
Was it at least interesting?
It is so I have so many questions for Matt. I have many questions for him.
Is Matt Mormon?
Matt used to be or was raised Mormon. I'm not sure.
My best friend, like that I consider my brother, that came into chat the other night, Jay.
Yeah.
He grew up super Mormon, and then he had a falling out after his.
I've heard. I've known a lot of people who with their like whose parents left the Mormon church. I don't know very many people who themselves left.
Yeah.
So, but there were a lot of interesting things that I did not realize about like the structure and these doctrines and everything that's involved in the church. So it was fascinating to see people talk it out too, because like some of the conversation got like super heated, and then some of it was very like amicable. And I feel like most people on the Mormon side of the room were very agreeable, but a lot of people on the ex-Mormon side were very like hostile, and I think it just speaks to the trauma that some people go through. But the one thing that they were able to agree on is that Mormons are incredible people. So I had to look into it more, you know.
Yeah.
One of us.
But yeah, that was my day. It's been incredibly crazy.
Yeah, all over the place. My gosh.
Yeah. Also, I had a hot dog for dinner. It was great.
Fuck yeah.
Just Oscar Mayer or
no, like Frank's.
A beef Frank.
Yeah,
I can only do ballparks. No, I can't.
Really?
Yeah. I don't
you
know
have
what
an
it
actual preference?
I don't know. So like, it's a situational thing for me with hot dogs. Just because I've seen hot dogs made before, and it's like,
Yeah.
But like, if I'm at a like an outing, like an event, like baseball or football or anything like that, like I just feel like compelled to. But any other time, I'm like, nah.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like just at a baseball game, you just feel, yes, this hot dog, American, yes.
Yeah, I must have a hot dog, or a very large pretzel, or cotton candy, or all of them.
True, exactly.
Whenever I go to baseball games with my family, because my family loves sports, and I am the odd one out there. Whenever I go to sporting events with them, namely baseball games, we always go to the concession stands, and everyone gets fucking Cracker Jacks, and I still don't know what they are.
I don't know what they are.
I have no idea what a Cracker Jack is. Bro. Yeah, they're in the buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. And I don't know. I don't get what it is, because in my brain they're nuts, but it says peanuts and Cracker Jacks, and I don't think you would get 2 types of nuts, so I don't know what they are.
I think I'll die on that hill, not knowing though.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Don't tell me.
I don't.
Okay.
Good. Anyways, we're bringing it around. What's the word with Vadu? No. Word with Vadu.
So yes, word with Vadu. It is related. Do you guys know what an asterism is?
Asterism?
Asterism.
Like an inclusion?
No.
No, then I don't.
So
do you just swear?
Asterism is a fancy word for something like the Little Dipper. It is
A
Okay.
a
constellation?
collection. No, because the
Yeah.
Little Dipper is part of a constellation, but is not the constellation itself.
Right.
It is an asterism.
Oh, so a
Yes.
name for something else.
It's a name for a cluster of stars. So Orion's
Oh.
belt is because it's part of the constellation, but it's not the constellation itself. It is another very well known asterism.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
cute.
Yep, that's it.
I probably would stumble over my words saying the word, but neat.
Asterism.
Can you say
Asterism.
asterisk?
Asterisk?
Like an asterisk? Just say asterism.
Asterism. Well, yeah, but like I don't know if I could whip it out like off the cuff and not
You just did.
mess up my words. But like no, like in a regular like sentence. Now
Oh.
that I know this word of ado and I want to use it in the world,
Mm-hmm.
I hope I don't stumble.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I am really guilty of spoonerisms all the time on really normal words.
I'm more of a fork guy.
Which is
You don't know what a spoonerism is?
no word of ado part 2.
Yeah, part 2. Spoonerism is Tomo taught me this actually. It is the thing where you mix up two letters, like you say like instead of soccer ball, you say Bockersall.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a spoonerism.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, I do that.
Yuck.
I thought I was just dyslexic.
Yeah.
Well, dyslexic
Maybe.
is reading, but you
I've
know.
been misdiagnosed.
Yeah. But I mean, you could, I guess, have a spoonerism while reading.
You could, yeah. That might actually mean you're dyslexic.
Fuck.
So,
I need to get
so
checked.
dyslexic is
Dyslexic is
visual?
when you
Spoonerism is
visually,
verbal?
yeah, when you visually like mess
What
up word, and
happens-
like it's a disorder. It's like your
happens if you're
the
reading
way
out
your
loud?
brain kind of like
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could, but that would be more based off of the fact that you're visually messing up the word, right? You're reading them as you see them.
We're gonna go too deep into that.
Yeah. Rabbit hole for another day, my friends.
Of course, of course.
I hear
Mhm.
we have more words though.
I do. I have a cap word of the day. So it's pronounced ephemeral. I've never personally used the word, but it tripped me up looking at the word, so I was like, this has to be a cap word. I could not
Ooh.
tell you where I heard it this week.
This
But-
is the EPH, like ephemeral.
Yeah.
Okay.
EPHEMERAL.
Yeah.
And it means like lasting for a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, very. Yeah.
I feel like whenever I hear this word, it's always ephemeral beauty. So like the beauty lasts for a short moment
Yeah,
when they're
fleeting
describing
Oh.
yeah, fleeting. But like I guess because I've only ever heard it paired with that word, I always think it just means emphasis of beauty. So like more beauty instead of it just being like a fleeting moment of and capturing
Oh.
that beautiful moment.
So
I
you've
always
never,
think it's just like emphasizing it.
yeah, you've never heard of like an ephemeral plant?
No.
Oh,
I've never heard of the word at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard of the word before, but I guess I just never really knew
Like,
the
well,
definition.
That's literally the
So,
I thought you were making stuff
There's
up.
there are
I
these
swear.
there are these it's used a lot in, I think this might just be because I garden that I know this, but
Probably.
there are ephemerals, which are like plants that have incredibly short lifespans. And or like grows during like a very short period, like blooms during a short period of time. So
Mhm.
like there are these really small, cute little like ephemeral plants that will sprout up in a garden somewhere, and they're there for like maybe a couple weeks, and then they're done. Like their life cycle's over.
Interesting.
So I know it from that one, but yeah, I actually never hear it like described as like an adjective.
I always thought it was an adjective. So like if I would have heard without you defining that an ephemeral plant, I would have thought it was a very pretty plant.
I mean, they
Like
are
not
but
meaning
not
fleeting
for
moment.
long.
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably. But
Mm.
I would have just thought you were describing the adjective of it being,
being
even
pretty.
more beautiful.
I see.
Yeah. So that's why it tripped me up. I was like, what the
So
I
do we
had
have
to define it and everything.
so do we have beef with this word then?
I think
I
so.
throw hands.
I throw hands.
I
I mean, I guess I would say because it doesn't define correctly in my brain. It's still just like I picture when I'm literally picturing it, I picture like you looking out a window and like like when the sunlight pours in
Yeah.
and you just freeze and you're looking outside and it just you pause and you're like, damn, this is really pretty.
like ethereal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, but ephemeral instead.
Yeah. So that's so
Whack.
interesting.
Yeah, my brain's kind of backwards.
Yeah, that's literally the only time I've ever heard of that word ever in my whole life.
Oh,
Wow.
well,
and
you're
you're
welcome.
You're like a wordsmith or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a spoonerism or whatever.
Yeah.
Spoonerism. Jeez.
I heard we have a tank word of the day too.
Do have a tank word. So it is the word parallax.
Oh.
Parallax?
Nice.
Yeah, parallax. Yeah.
Never
Not
heard of it.
next. Just parallax.
Oh.
You know that guy from the Green Lantern? Parallax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in science terms or in astrology terms, parallax is the movement between closer things to farther things. So like, do you know how like when you're driving down the road and like the road's moving fast and then like the brim's moving fast next to the road and the trees are moving a little bit slower and the mountains and then like the clouds are moving like not at all. That's that in like space terms, that's how you can tell like that's how like a lot of the planets were discovered and like what is close and what's far away in the terms of like in the Galileo days when they didn't have any sensor types for light. So that's like back in ancient times, that's how things were discovered back then, is when observed over time they could see what's changed and what hasn't changed.
I have beef with this word actually. Fun fact.
What?
Oh.
Parallax fucks me up because the way that it's determined is almost like a perpendicular measurement, but it's spelt in a way that makes it seem parallel. And I hate
so
that.
it's like backwards, like it messes with your brain.
Yeah, because I always think like when I think about the action of like figuring out something within a parallax, I always think it's like you're looking for something parallel to you, but you're not. Technically you're looking for something perpendicular because it forms like an X shape in the way it's determined, which is a perpendicular lines. Like
I have beef with it now.
Yeah, it fucks me up a little bit.
I thought it was going to be defined as paralyzed, so you got me fucked up anyways.
I was about to go Latin. So isn't it like para mean in comparison to, and then lax is like of something that's not?
So it might be. It's just that because the only word that I know is parallel, and it's perpendicular lines, it just fucks with me because it has to do with lines. And so I'm so used to parallel lines being two lines that never intersect that having something that sounds like parallel describe perpendicular lines, it just throws me for a loop, which is a whole different shape. But
that's a topic for another day, question mark?
Writing notes.
Write that down.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out like because I know how to determine like planets and stuff. Because it's really easy to determine the distances within. I know it's not like close by, but it's closer in context to like the rest of the universe on a cosmic scale. So I'm like, dang, how do you figure out everything else? Because the ancients had a lot of like knowledge going into astrology. Because I don't know if you know the origins of the zodiac, Veda.
Like how they came up with the representative animals and stuff.
Well, how long ago, like the first, like the zodiac tablet and stuff like that.
I know that astrology dates back to Mesopotamia, but that's about it.
Okay, yeah. I believe the ancient Egyptians found a Sumerian tablet, and then the ancient Greeks then translated that ancient tablet with what they found from ancient Egypt onto that. And so I was like, how far back do we even know like those astrology information goes?
Well, and
I know you guys are very into astrology.
Yeah, and that astrology technically is so what we talk about when we do our like second week of every month astrology whatever. We're talking very specifically about Western astrology.
Right.
And it is, I think dating back, because there's also, if you look at zodiac charts from other places, they are vastly, I mean, you have Chinese zodiac, right, which
True.
is
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody has
wildly
their star
different.
chart.
Yeah, but I know that, like, going all the way back from when it started, like, there were a lot more houses that everything falls into, because when you're talking about astrology, there's like, you look at planets, you look at signs, and you look at houses. And right now in Western astrology, there's like 12 houses, but I think there used to be like 20.
Wow.
And
I never knew that.
they aligned it. They made it 12 when it was westernized to kind of match with the 12 zodiac signs. But astrology is one of those things where I think it's so interesting because there's so much history behind it, but it's not a science, which is like wild to me.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it, like, I don't believe that science has to be like a science, like how we think about it, just like a studying of, in a sense, because, you know, I can do science on Valorant,
Right.
study things, Valorantitis or Valorantology, Valorantitis. Yeah. So, like, I always think of astrology as like the trying to understand what is
It's a
going on.
pseudoscience for sure.
Yeah.
It's beliefs or like claims of both scientific and factual nature, but within the parameters of like a scientific method. So while it's not a testable, like true variable kind of thing that you can do scientific research on, it still does follow a scientific method, and that's exactly what pseudosciences are. They're things that like we are like, yeah, this could be true, but there's really no way for us to prove that it's true among society without, like, it's all up to belief. Like, if you believe in it, trust me, you can make it true.
Yeah, for sure. You can also like try to explain it to someone else for them to believe it true as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it does very much, I mean, there's like a pattern, like it's down to, for lack of a better term, a science, how it's mapped out and how it's charted and everything. So I mean, like, it's as close as you can get without being able to call it a bona fide science.
Yeah, it gets a participation.
Yeah, it's the runner up for sure.
Yeah, he showed up, sort of situation.
But yeah,
neat.
Yeah, I know a lot about astrology, but not so much about space and stars and stuff. Honestly, it kind of freaks me out. So,
why?
For the same reason that like the Marianas Trench freaks me out. Yeah. It's just like there's
very
so
dreadful.
Yeah, it's there's so many things that we like don't know about it. And I love being able to like know my surroundings. So like the idea of being in the center of space or being in the center of the Marianas Trench, both of those are like equally terrifying to me, even though I don't have like thalassophobia or like a fear of space or anything like that. It's just like, it's the fear of being somewhere so widely unknown.
I have a question then.
What?
Are you afraid of stuff outside our solar system or within?
I'm afraid of anything that's not familiar to me, bro. You take me into Earth's atmosphere and half the time I'm like, I don't know what's up here. I'm on a plane and I'm like,
it was like the further like idea of like extraterrestrial stuff,
so
or was it like just space?
Extraterrestrials used to freak me out, and now not really, because in my mind I'm like, okay, but I think of like who we are as like a society and a human race and everything. Anything out there is probably better than us or worse than us, to the point where like technology wise, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like either we're never gonna meet them or they're gonna come to us, and like we'll know, you know? Like satellites will pick it up and they'll be like, oh, there's something crazy out there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So they used to freak me out just because like the whole like when I was a kid, like the alien invasion kind of stuff, I was like, that's wild. Like imagine like these crazy like alien creatures coming down and like, I don't chomping our heads off just because they can. That's terrifying.
I
And
didn't
now
think
I'm
about that,
kind of
but no,
I'm
thank you.
along the lines of like anything out there that can manage to travel space is probably advanced enough to not just like chomp on people.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd be like, let's study these things.
Yeah. And I feel
Mhm.
like they walk among us now. So
Probably.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like a being that's on land looks like us, you know. I always
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
about like aliens, like an octopus, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that could very well be an alien. Like that
Didn't they
something came traveling on like um like an asteroid that fell into Earth, and then those like
Yeah.
microbes that were on there just transformed to that over millions of years, you know.
didn't
It's like we all had to go somewhere.
didn't NASA figure out that there's like not advanced life forms, but there's like life on another planet, right? Like
Yeah.
microorganism life.
Yeah. They say
Yeah.
that wherever there's water, there's potential.
Yeah.
They
And
said
so
that
that's
there's some stuff on the caps of Mars because
yeah,
the snow caps up there or and down there. There's like
yeah.
possible traces of like microorganisms and stuff, but it's not like to the degree that they're like, holy shit, they're gonna evolve and it's gonna be over. They're gonna be actual
Yeah.
Martians.
Have
It's
you
just like
guys
little bugs and stuff.
have you guys ever seen the movie Life with Jake Gyllenhaal?
No.
No.
It's a
actually.
really good alien movie.
Ooh.
It's
write that
scary
down, write that
too.
down.
Yeah. Write that
Wait,
down.
is it
Write
the
that
one
down.
with the spider?
With a
It's
spider?
the one with the alien?
Okay,
Question
then no.
mark? um,
Maybe not.
it's like so he is part of a team. Ryan Reynolds is in there too for a hot second. But
Just one.
uh, um, they're on a mission. I can't remember where they went. They're on a mission because they discovered what they think could be life on another planet, and it's like a organism, and they're studying it, and it starts rapidly evolving.
Yes, I've
And
seen this.
yes, it is
Yeah.
an incredible movie.
It is. It is very good. I agree. I'll have to rewatch it though.
Yeah.
Just on your brief explanation, I was like, I've seen this, but not enough to be like, what happened?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't. I'll have to watch this.
Yeah. Extraterrestrials though, they're not like a problem to me anymore. It's more so like just the uncertainty of like, dude, like I don't, if I was up there like in a space station or something, and like
Yeah.
a crack in the glass happens, or like,
Well,
I would scream.
we have like some sort of unidentified like solar flare. Like I have no idea what I would do. I have no fucking idea about any of that stuff. I have no idea what I would do. I don't know the force of anything. You know what I learned today?
That's true.
Space
What?
smells like raspberries and alcohol. That's what I learned today.
Raspberries and alcohol.
Yeah, there's like
Why?
there's a large amount of like ethanol that circulates around space.
Okay. I
And
knew
so and then there's like a chemical that is paired with it, which is what gives raspberries like their smell or their scent.
that. Oh.
interesting.
And
Well,
so
I guess if you hate raspberries, you wouldn't very much like space, huh?
well,
Yeah, that's a
hopefully
deal breaker.
you're not going to be taking off your helmet in space to smell the raspberries.
Sniffy,
know?
sniffy. I don't see why
Um,
not.
Well,
Well,
There's just one thing that will happen.
yeah, I don't know.
you could turn the color of a raspberry if you do.
Yes, and freeze.
And-
It'd be a
yep,
frozen
mhm.
raspberry.
Yeah.
I forgot what movie it
cream.
was. I think it was Mission Mars or something like that,
Mhm.
where I was like a little kid when I saw it, and he took his helmet off and his face started like freezing and cracking, and I was like, "No, I'm good. I don't want to."
I think they do a really good part of that in Guardians of the Galaxy, because like Peter does it like twice in the whole series. So
Spoilers!
Uh-huh.
Oh my god!
hey, my bad, guys. Spoilers.
No, I love the renditions that movies try to give space justice to. Like
Mhm.
what was it? Contact with
Oh, with the like gold people in space and stuff. Those guys.
oh man, what is her name? What is her name? It's gonna kill me. Contact.
Gamora.
No,
Damn.
it is. Please help me.
There's a
Jodie
lot of
Foster.
females.
Jodie Foster. And she like as a child, she was very interested in space, and they found this signal from like this far off system. I forgot what the system was called. But anyways, the first scene, like Earth looks so bad. Like they tried to render it, and it's a 1990s film, and it just looks so bad. I'm like, what the hell? And then like that and Twister, oh man. And now you look nowadays and looks fantastic, and you're like, man, imagine if they had that back in the day, and they didn't have to
True.
butcher how space looks.
But now they can make it prettier.
I know.
They can make it look ephemeral. Used wrong. But, you know.
Gesundheit.
You want to know another fun fact I learned?
I would love to know.
Do you know
Yeah.
what the shape of the moon is?
Round.
Nope.
It's an egg.
It's a lemon. It's a
It's a
lemon
lemon?
shape.
Lemon
Yeah.
egg.
The way that we perceive it is circular, but it's actually a lemon shaped.
I feel like we're looking at it on like, you know, if you just turn it sideways,
Yeah, and
like where you're
it
looking at
actually is
one of the
circular. Yeah,
nipples,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
circular. That's how I think we're viewing the moon now.
Yeah, I saw like a
So the umber.
rendering of like a 3D rendering of the moon, and it is like it's fucked up, man.
I don't think I want to see
It's
it.
fucked
Well,
up.
then
I
how
don't-
does it become a crescent?
Well, because that's just dependent on how much of the sun is shining on it from the other side of the
Yeah.
world, like the Earth.
Yeah,
No.
because the saddle locks.
Someone's
It's not like
stealing it every
bulging
time.
out where it's like
Yeah.
noticeable.
Well, it's bulging.
it's
It's
like-
a lemon.
I'm a lemon.
I'm gonna scrump that moon.
Holy shit! Please don't scrump the moon.
I'm gonna find every moment in these podcasts to use the word scrump correctly.
I'm gonna scrub that moon.
Please don't scrump the moon.
I want you to go around to people on the street and just start saying that. You know the moon. I'm gonna scrump it.
You see, you know
Sorry.
that old bit of like, you want the moon? I'll go out there and I'll lasso it for you. Instead, just
Go
like,
out
you
there
want
and
the moon,
scrump
baby?
it.
I'll go scrump the moon for you.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
shit!
Every podcast, guys, I'm so sorry, but
It's funny.
I love it so much.
That's
It's
I
my
kind of want
favorite
to.
one do.
We gotta make like a tally marker at some point and figure out how many episodes we've mentioned
said scrump.
scrumping.
That'd be amazing. Oh,
Oh,
my
God.
god.
Anyways,
I
yes.
feel like we've got a bit off topic ish
Oh yeah.
Really?
from space.
Don't say.
and stars.
Scrumping the lemon moon.
Yeah, who's got space stuff? I'm here to listen today, so
Hell yeah. Well, I have some of my favorite constellations and
Hell
some
yeah.
of their stories if you want
Do
me to
it.
start
oh
off.
fun.
So, as some of you guys might know, my favorite of all time constellation is Orion. He is one of my favorite every time like we get into that time period of the year where I know I can find him in the sky. Anytime I'm outside, I have to find him every single time. And then I go, "Hey Orion," and then I go about my day every time. It's just so pretty. I just always find his little belt and then I could find the rest of them. And then on the other side, since it's on the other side of the year, my other favorite is Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. So, with a
Same.
brief description of them for you guys, the Ursa Major is the Big Dipper, as that other word. I keep on thinking of
Asterism.
spoonerism. There you go, asterism.
Asterism.
You're welcome. And the Little Dipper, and there's a little story with them. So, as with many stories from history, there's more than one version of the myth of the Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. One of those versions is that Ursa Major represents Callisto, who had a child with Zeus, king of the Greek gods. When Zeus's wife Hera found out, she turned Callisto into a bear. Then one day, Callisto's son was actually out hunting and saw a great bear, and not realizing it was his mother, tried to kill her. But to save them both, Zeus grabbed both of them and threw them into the sky. And Callisto became Ursa Major, while her son Arcus became Ursa Minor. In other stories, Zeus turned Callisto into a bear to hide her from Hera. And then there's some other stories involving the Roman form of them, which is Jupiter and Juno. And what's really weird is that, like, because you think a bear with them, but you're looking at, like, everyone calls it the panhandle for the Big Dipper and stuff.
Mhm.
There's not really a reason why they have the dipper, because the handle part is actually the quote-unquote bear's tail. But they said that the reason why it's so long like that instead of like a little nub like you would see on like a bear nowadays They said that when Zeus was throwing them into the sky, he had them by their tail and like was spinning around and like whipped them up there and it stretched their tail out. And that's why it became the
Oh.
panhandle, which I thought was really weird. They don't really have a picture of like what the bear might have looked like.
Mhm.
But to me, I just picture it like a grizzly bear from like nowadays and you just like pulled its tail.
Yeah.
Like a cat tail in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like a little kinked because like Zeus
Yeah.
grabbed that shit and whipped it. So
I remember being a kid, and I can't remember which one points to which, but I would always try to find because okay, when I was a kid, and maybe this is just me, but we had the little pan and the big pan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't remember which like pan corner goes to which handle or whatever it was, but I remember as a kid it was like the most exciting thing whenever I would go on family vacations. My grandpa had like this star finder, and it was like binoculars that you looked through, and you would pick the star beforehand, and then you would go through the binoculars and it would like guide you to that star. And so
that's so cool.
when you did the constellation, we would always look for, I think it was the Little Dipper, and then find the Big Dipper like based off of it. And like I was a fucking nerd when it came to the stars. So like I went to the planetarium like once a year at least, and like
Yeah.
I always went into the giant dome where they like pointed out constellations, and I just like was the know-it-all kid who like was able to be like, that's
Oh, yeah, this one.
like that was me. But I used to love finding the Little and Big Dipper on my own because I would be like, I see it.
I love.
Yeah.
So the Big Dipper. So if you go down from the pan, if you go from the back of the handle down, and at the edge of the pan, if you take, because the Big Dipper is below the Little Dipper,
Yeah.
and on the Little Dipper is the Northern Star.
Yeah.
And so if you go from the Big Dipper at the bottom right of the pan, and you take those two dots, those two stars, and it's 3 times the distance, then you'll find the Northern Star, and then from there you can find the Little Dipper.
Everything that you just said to me, I feel like makes sense, but not right now.
Okay.
Okay. I was like, you should have seen me trying to draw it out with my hands as you were saying.
You're like, yeah, and then this. And
when I was living in downtown Chicago, that was like the one thing that I really missed was the stars, because like you can't see anything with the light pollution.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, like when I lived in the north side of the city, I could see like a little bit of the stars, and I would like try to like, I could see like the Northern Star because it's so freaking bright. So I would be like, I know that you're in there somewhere, but I would try spotting it and I just couldn't. And like,
I had a nickel.
That would make me so sad.
Living in the boonies now is like the greatest thing in the world. No, it is. Like you trade the convenience of the city, but like I love being able to like go out at night. Like after this podcast, I'm probably gonna go outside and look at the stars.
Probably me too. And then I have the story of Orion as well, including a couple different versions of how he died, because apparently there's 5 of them. But basically, Orion is depicted as the hunter in the sky, and its belt, Orion's belt, being the most recognizable. It also signifies that winter is coming, so that's why I said that the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper are on opposite spectrums. So Orion's constellation is actually paired with a bunch of different other constellations too. So he's paired with his 2 hunting dogs, Canis Major and Canis Minor, who are hunting the Great Hare known as the constellation Lepus, alongside the other constellation Monoceros, which translates into unicorn. And so all these 5 constellations, Orion, 2 of his dogs, the hare that they're hunting, and the unicorn is known as Orion's family. And I actually didn't know that, so that was really neat.
Wait, I kind of love that.
Yeah, it was so cute. But with a brief description of what happened with Orion, like how he got tossed up in the sky, like how Ursa Major and Minor was he's actually a handsome giant who is granted the ability to walk on water by his father Poseidon. He served King, sorry if I butcher this, Oenopion?
Wrong.
Sure, of Chios as a huntsman for a time, but he was blinded and exiled from the island after doing some not so nice things to the king's daughter, Merope. So, he traveled really far across the sea to Lemnos to petition the god Hephaestus for help in recovering his eyesight. Lending him his assistance, Chaldean, the god, directed the giant to the rising place of the sun where Helios restored his vision. Upon returning back to Greece, Orion sought out Onipion, to exact his revenge, but the king hid himself away in an underground bronze chamber. He eventually kind of gave up and retired to the island of Delos or Crete, where he became a hunting companion for the goddess Artemis. After his death, he was actually placed amongst the stars as the constellation. But there's 5 different versions as to how he got up there. 'Cause that was
5?
just a brief, 5 different ways that they were
Somebody's
listed,
lying.
how he got up there. And no one knows which one's the right story. So we got version number 1. He was talking himself up, saying he was the best hunter, proclaimed that he could hunt everything, blah, 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 which really upset Gaia, which was Mother Earth, who sent a giant scorpion to stop Orion. And he overcame the giant as they were fighting and stung him with his poisonous sting. And he just died and then would be caught up there, which is why Scorpio is also kind of near Orion as well. So there's one.
Interesting.
Version 2, Eos, the dawn goddess, saw the handsome Orion in the company of Artemis and decided to abduct the giant because she wanted him all to herself. And Artemis thought that someone killed Orion because she was like, where the fuck did he go? I don't understand. And so he just kind of disappeared. So I guess Eos just kidnapped him, and he just ended up there. And she just and Artemis could never get him back. And then the third one was saying that Artemis actually killed him for trying to
Ooh.
force his attentions upon a different lady. And so she got really jealous, and it was actually on her handmaiden. Her name was Opus, and she grew really jealous and killed him herself. So it was kind of if no one can have him, or if I can't have him, no one can, and just slaughtered him right then and there. And then version 4 was Artemis killed Orion when a hunter tried to challenge her to a game of it's called quoits. I didn't actually look up what this was called, but apparently the 2 hunters were challenged about it, and she was like, well, this is dumb because I'm just gonna win anyways, so she killed him. There's a lot of versions where Artemis kills her lover, and I think that's really messed up. But the last version is actually Apollo, which is Artemis's brother, arranged the death of Orion when he became jealous of the closeness that Orion and Artemis were having. So Orion was swimming out in the sea, and Apollo challenged Artemis to hit a bobbing target. And Apollo was looking out at sea and was like, hey, sis, how about you hit that? And of course, Artemis, being a really good hunter as well, she hit the nail on the head, so to speak, and he drowned at sea. And so, yeah. So there's a lot of versions of Artemis either purposefully killing Orion or being tricked into it. And yeah, so I mean, Orion, for being a really skilled hunter, the brains weren't always there, I guess. So
Yeah.
that's how we ended up in the stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
So bouncing off of that, there is a story about, the Pleiades, the 7 sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So their origins were from Greek mythology with the god Atlas, the guy that's carrying the world.
The boulder.
Yeah.
The big boy. So the 7 sisters were his daughters, and he put them in the stars because Orion was trying to force himself onto the 7 sisters.
Oh my gosh.
So he's trying. That's where he pled to Zeus, and Zeus zapped him up there for eternity.
Damn, Orion needs to get it together. For being my favorite constellation, he's got issues.
I'm saying Beetlejuice and Orion's belt is about to go bye-bye.
To be fair,
No,
there
it's
are
fine.
not
They got
a
years.
lot
Yes,
of
it is.
mythological figures that do not have a truckload of issues.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just when we're focusing on one and you're listing out the issues, it seems a lot more.
Which one was the guy who ate his kids and was tricked by the rock?
Who ate his
China?
kids?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Is that a constellation or just a
No,
Greek?
it's like
It's a Greek god.
yeah, it's a
Or,
Greek god.
Titan, I believe.
It was a Titan.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was like he ate his children, and then his wife replaced one of his kids with a rock, and he just didn't notice.
It was Cronus.
Oh my
Cronus,
god.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Cronus ate
think
each of
that
the
might
children
take the
when they were
cake
born.
for one of the dumbest.
we gotta
stories.
have a episode on like the funniest mythology stories because
Yeah.
there's
We'll just have to
There's
bring
quite
someone
a
on
few
for
out
some
there.
mythology talks.
yeah, for real.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up Taurus, but I know you guys are doing that soon, so I was gonna back off of it.
Yeah, it's next week, by the way. Plug.
Yeah. Maybe
You can if you'd like.
if you want
if that's one of your favorite ones.
Yeah, if you want to give information about it, don't hold back. We're gonna deep
Yeah.
dive anyway, so.
Mm-hmm. And plus, you'll be technically talking about the constellation, not the
I
astrology
can't
too in
no
depth.
because I want to see how you guys trash upon me. But like, oh my gosh, this is so like Tank. Oh my gosh, this is so
I mean,
like Tank.
you were there when
Okay.
I was doing research and I was giggling the whole
All
time.
I heard was, oh my god, this is so you. And I was like, I'm about to go to bed.
Um.
I'm not gonna go.
Okay. First of all, how Taurus of you. Second,
Bye guys. You guys have a great night.
if it's any consolation,
I get it.
no, if it's any consolation, you're
Consolation.
like the only Taurus that I get along with. I mean, like I use that loosely because
haven't
you
talked
shit
to you
on
in
me a
weeks.
lot, but
It's been a fortnight since I've heard your voice.
that's
Ew.
2 weeks.
That's 2 weeks. You're really nice.
I fucking love Jurdleys. But yeah, you being a Taurus doesn't make sense to me just because I like you as a human and
People say I'm adopted,
Oh,
yeah.
but that's just coming
adopted
from my
as
brothers.
far as
Well,
oh my god.
We're all Stardust, man. Dude,
You should-
I love the thought of that.
What?
So, how everything is Stardust.
yeah.
It's like,
And it just came to be.
yeah, it's just I love that. Like, even if it's just a theory, like, hell yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just go off the Big Bang Theory for a second. So, if
Yeah.
the Big Bang Theory actually happened, all this hot gas started like clustering around and started making all these systems and all these galaxies and stuff and all these galaxy clusters and whatnot, and then our hot gas came out here, and now we're doing a podcast. That's sick as shit.
Yeah, that's not crazy.
True
always-
podcast turns into a podcast.
I always
Yeah.
liked when I was in like maybe 5th grade, we went to
Mhm.
do this thing called like the Challenger, which was basically like a simulation
Yeah.
like space
spaceship.
Yeah, the spaceship simulation. And so they had like half of you were mission control and then the other half were on the space station or like on the spaceship or whatever. And when they were explaining like beforehand, they were giving us a little lesson and they were talking about the Big Bang Theory, but they were trying to make it make sense for us. And they were like, think about taking, you know, a thing of soda that you've shaken really, really hard, right? And then you open the cap, like what's gonna happen? We're like, it's gonna go everywhere. They're like, great. And now imagine that we are the tiniest trail that's stemmed off from all of these, you know, droplets that have gone everywhere. They're like that tiny little end to the little like drip from the drop that landed on the wall. That's humanity. And I was like, from then on, I was an extremely existential child.
Oh no.
But yeah,
No,
that's
it really made me think about myself, like,
Yeah.
on that terms too. Like, my mom was a scientist, or is a scientist. And so like we were thrown into that stuff, and
Yeah.
so like I'm on the same board as you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just like it's so baffling. I think that's why I got so into like philosophy when I was
Mhm.
younger because
Mhm.
like they're just like there is no answer. And like space is such a good example of that. Like we know nothing.
Very little.
And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
it's like everyone goes searching for these answers, but the truth of it is like no one is ever going to live long enough to have all the answers. And so
No.
like I think one of the beautiful things about
Mhm.
space is that
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's scary because it's uncertain, but it's also kind of like relieving because it's
Mhm.
like it's certainty within that uncertainty. Like you can take comfort in just knowing that you're never going to know. And that's your answer. That's your definite.
Yeah, it really makes you like. There's so much stuff out there that can be overwhelming, but if you focus on the stuff, you can see like beautiful things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Like I cannot explain to you any reason why Aurora Borealis happens, but it's on my bucket list to see it.
I
Aurora
really
Borealis.
want to see it so bad.
I want to go to
The
Iceland
Northern
for
Light.
it. I want to go
Do
see.
you know why it happens?
I
Can
know.
you define it?
Yeah, if you've got the full explanation, please tell me.
Yeah.
Because
So the way the world spins, we have
Mhm.
a iron core, and the world spins, so it makes a magnetic field around us. So how a magnetic field works is it just like imagine a rod
Mhm.
going from north to south, north pole, south pole, and little branches of arc come off of it, like go around. Like, have you guys ever seen like how like a diagram of how a magnet works?
yeah,
Yeah.
Where like cycles on the sides.
yeah,
Yeah.
So when the sun's like solar flares come off of it and all the radiation and whatnot, it hits the world and it goes like the path of least resistance. It hits our magnetic fields and travels up around and hits our poles.
Mhm.
So since our world spins, so does the like the convergent point of all those magnetic fields coming back down. So that's why we see those.
But like, aren't solar flares hitting all the time? But isn't there only certain
Well-
times when the aurora only happens?
No, solar rays are always hitting.
Yeah.
Solar flares are like bursts of energy.
Yeah. Like
Oh.
think about it like an electrical arc. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to hit you. Like, do you know what a Faraday cage is?
No.
So a Faraday cage is basically like this huge metal cage that you can stand in, and electricity can hit it all day, but you'll be safe because it's not hitting you; it's hitting the cage. The same thing
Yeah.
happening here. So at the northern and southern poles, you are getting a lot of radiation, but it's so dissipated that's not really affecting you that much.
That's why it
So
comes off as light instead.
yeah, so it hits
Oh.
it because it curves around, and then there's like a plate that's in the atmosphere. That's why there's no aurora borealis on the land. It's like
Only in
the
the
plate's
sky.
like a mile up, and then it hits that, and you get these beautiful lights. It's actually solar radiation hitting that, and that's what all those lights are.
Now I want to go see it even more.
Yeah.
Dang it. It's on my bucket list. It's top one. Number one. Oh, it's gonna be so pretty if I ever do get to see it. Either in like maybe Canada or Alaska. But Iceland would
There are
probably be
like
the best.
really rare times.
can-
They always say like, oh, you're gonna be able to see it from Wisconsin,
Wherever you
or
are.
Illinois.
Yeah, I was gonna say
or-
you can see it
Yeah.
from Wisconsin
You
as
can
long as
see
it's
it.
in the right times.
You can see
Yeah,
it
but like
really
I
well.
want to just go.
You can
and
see
see
it really
it
well
for
from
sure.
Mackinac Island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's near Mexico, I think.
What?
Damn, I wish.
Where's Mackinac Island?
Mackinac Island is like a pedestrian only island up on the UP.
Yeah, when you're like close
Up
to
on the up?
Canada.
Up on
Okay.
You're a
Upper
Youper.
Peninsula
Yeah,
of
On
Michigan.
the up, the up.
pretty
Okay.
much.
Sorry, Midwest speak. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
All I know is
Youper.
desert.
Did you guys know?
Yeah.
Did you know that Arizona's collective biggest fear is water?
Yeah.
We don't
We
do
covered that.
practice
When we
swimming
when
here.
we were
Funny.
talking phobias and we looked up the map, I was dying laughing at the fact that like
said the
the
desert
desert states are afraid of water.
Heck yeah, man. Okay, so we don't see a lot of rain, but when it rains, it pours and flash floods.
I have been in
That's
Arizona during a really bad storm,
Yeah.
and the reaction of Arizonans,
I hate the drivers.
Arizonites,
What do you call yourself?
Arizonians.
Arizonasians.
Arizonians.
Arizonians, yeah. The reaction from Arizonians when it is storming really bad is crazy. Because I'm like, you guys are
Yeah.
not going to get hit by a tornado. I've seen way worse than this. And they're
I've had
like,
a tornado here.
they're like, okay, but like, you
Mhm.
know when a tornado is going to hit as a
Oh
Midwesterner.
yeah, no, yeah.
And
It has
it's,
to be bad.
yeah.
You know, like,
And so like, it'll be like pouring rain. There will be like mild thunder. It's not still at all. There's like these gusts of wind, and like the formula for a tornado is still calmness, right? Like that's the
Yeah,
calm
like
before
the air
the
just
storm.
stops.
Like, everything stops. The sky is
Yeah.
a certain color. So like They're
The
like, oh my
green.
god, we're gonna have a twister
Yeah.
or something, and I'm like, you guys are
Ooh.
fine. Like, it's gonna be a bad storm. You guys are fine.
We get
Yeah.
haboobs. We get haboobs. Those are the big dust
Haboobs.
storms.
Do you guys get deratios?
No, I usually
Doritos
just get
or-
the. Yeah, I was gonna say I usually get the Cool Ranch one.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You guys
Wait,
know
Or
what
what
like
is
a
it?
do you don't know what a deratio is?
No, I don't go outside.
So
Sure.
a deratio is like a, oh god, it's usually when humid weather like forms a sort of funnel, like infinite funnel cloud. It's so weird to explain. It would probably be easier to show you guys. So I can
Wait.
show you after.
Is it like a dust tornado?
No, it's not necessarily. Here, I'll send both of you a picture of it. It's like a very weird way that the clouds form during a storm, and it's like terrible wind. It's almost like if the rain were to take a tornado pattern, but it's not a tornado. It's such a strange
Interesting.
type of storm. They happen in the south a lot, but I don't know if they happen out west.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're very strange.
Yeah, the closest thing to tornadoes that we get here are called dust devils.
Yeah.
And like we get massive ones. They're probably like 100 feet wide. Like they're on the
Yeah.
cusp of being like a category 1.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So we get those a
Yeah.
lot. We don't get them
Oh.
as like perfect because of the mountains,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but we get like it's like blocks of them, like moving
Mhm.
one after the other.
They're
Yeah.
super common in like the Bible Belt-ish area, I know. But well, I mean, because that's where I grew up, and that we had them all the
Bible
time.
Belt.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. I don't.
Wait, did you not know that?
No, I'm learning so many new words.
Wait, you didn't know that you didn't know the Bible Belt's a thing?
It's ephemeral or whatever that word was.
It's ephemeral.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's fleeting moments of learning new words.
Okay.
The Bible Belt consists of like pretty much everything. It's like below the like West Virginia, what would that be? Kentucky.
Yeah.
So like south.
It's like
Like-
below that
like
and all the
north and
way
south.
out to Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like if the U.S. was wearing a belt, but like stops at Texas.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you tilt the United States map like to the right a little bit and then put a
Mhm.
belt on it, there you go. Bible Belt.
Okay. Bible Belt.
Bible Belt.
A Bible Belt.
Bible Belt. Learn some words today.
All right, who's
All
got
right.
more space stuff for me?
I do. I have my favorite stars.
Okay.
Okay.
I got 3 of them.
Okay.
So one of which we already brought up earlier, because Tank says it's about to explode soon, but it's not.
Mhm,
So leave him
mhm,
alone. No,
mhm.
my
On a
favorite
cosmic
star.
timeline? Mm-hmm.
Yes, but no. So his name is Betelgeuse, and it's awesome. It is the second brightest star on the Orion constellation, marking the eastern shoulder of the Hunter, and it actually stands for the giant's shoulder.
Oh, nice.
And it is a red supergiant.
Sounds like a long shot.
Well, he's trying his best. He's part of the Hunter. Leave him alone. Fun fact, it randomly started dimming back in 2019, if you guys were the little space nerds at the time. But it actually returned back to its original brightness in late 2020. This was called the Great Dimming. It was also found that Betelgeuse spit out, air quotes on that, 400 billion times more space material than our sun did, which was about roughly, they're like guesstimating this, the mass of Mount Everest, which caused a giant cloud of dust to partially block the star, thus dimming it, which means like the star itself didn't necessarily lose the brightness, but
Okay.
because of the amount of stuff it like spit out, it blocked the majority of the star. So scientists, when looking up at it to track its movements and like development as a star itself, the dust blocking it made them so concerned that the star was dying quicker than it was perceived to be. So they thought that at that great dimming that like, dude, the star is gonna explode.
Damn it.
it's just gonna
Oh
explode
no,
right
that
now.
thing's got like, if it's just now dimming, it's got like a million years left at least.
Yeah.
So this great dimming was then predicted that Betelgeuse will go supernova when it eventually dies the next million years.
Yeah.
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 But isn't
Yeah.
that so cool? It could go
It
supernova.
is.
It's gonna
Mhm.
No, I
explode.
really. Yeah.
I want to see
So
one.
so after
But, like,
you're done
not
with your stars, like I want to bring up the next thing because
Yeah.
Beetlejuice is such a
Interesting
hot
topic.
topic
Yeah.
for me.
Okay.
Hot red giant.
Hot.
Also, you guys gotta stop saying his name, you know?
True.
Because
It has to be said 3 times in a row. It must be spoken unbroken. So it's okay. We got it. But my next one is Canopus or Canopus is
What are
like
you
2
talking
different
to?
ways. That's the next star. It's called
Canopus.
Canopus.
Okay.
It's the second brightest star after Sirius, and it's a part of the Carina constellation, and it's sometimes used as a guide in the altitude control of spacecraft because of its angular distance from the sun and its brightness comparatively to other stars.
Okay.
Oh.
So, mine's a little Disney nerd fact about this star because technically it was said in Treasure Planet when they're using
Mhm.
the Treasure Planet map when they get to Treasure Planet, when he puts it in the ground and I don't know what to call it, the diagram, I guess, of a hologram of the planet and where you can like tap and open the door a bunch of times.
Mhm.
So when he's using the giant door to open and close, Silver's getting upset with him saying, well, you need to find the door to open to Treasure Planet, like where all the treasure is. He's like, okay, well, give me a second. And he looks at it and he says, Kinopus. And he says Montresure's spaceport, which is he used that star to guide his way back to finding a place that's familiar for him.
Mhm.
So I thought that was really neat that it was used for spacecraft as like a measurement and degree of like guiding the spacecraft, but also Jim Hawkins used it as his like measurement to get back home too. So I
Yeah.
thought that was really neat. But it's not spelled
A
the same
guiding
because
star.
because it's spelled Canopus, but in the movie it's spelled Kinapis. So it was a little sad finding the different
It was
spelling,
probably
but I thought it was super
probably a
neat.
nod to it, you know, because it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be.
So when I was
100%.
learning this, I was like, I've heard that word before. So I zoomed back over to the film and I was like, no, I know I heard this before, and I had to fact check myself, and I got really excited and I
It's
wanted
your
to add
favorite
that to my
episode.
list.
You had to have known, you know.
I know. I just my
I
Disney
love
nerd
the
came out.
idea of like. Okay, so this is one thing that always messes with me because, like, did either of you ever play No Man's Sky?
No,
Okay,
I was going
not.
to, but then that's when the whole like everybody hated it thing happened.
well, it was rough. So I pre-ordered it, and so I played it on launch, and the menu for uh, like traveling, like I guess like in hyper speed traveling or whatever.
Yeah.
You were given a huge map of stars and you navigated through the stars to essentially decide like which one you were going to pop up next to, right? And
Right.
I don't know if it's still like that, but it was one of the most like beautiful like teleport menus I've ever gone through in my life. To the point where like there was a point where I spent 25 minutes on it just like looking at stuff because it would like rotate and stuff too.
Oh,
And
neat.
it made me think, and this is a thought that I have a lot now when I see like space travel in movies and stuff, is imagine having to navigate by stars because while they don't necessarily move a shit ton, like if you are looking at the night sky and you drive halfway across the country, the night sky's not going to change that much, so you can still like
Right.
see these constellations. But
That's where we're going.
you
Yeah.
never think about like if you're traveling to a different planet, how are those constellations going to look, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's so wild to me sometimes to think about cuz like what do the constellations look like from Neptune, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Also, imagine that you're traveling at light speed, or like even like really, really like faster than light speed, you know,
Mhm.
and you're traveling at something that's like, let's say, just 10 light years away. As you're
Mhm.
traveling, everything's changing, like moving to where it is now, because what like you see stars, like the common thing, like you see
Mhm.
stars as they were millions of years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, or like 100 to a million years ago. And so like as you're traveling to it, it's moving drastically
Yeah.
Right.
because like you're traveling to where it is now, and like you're following the light patterns of where it's traveled for the last million years. And it's like that always like messed me up.
Yeah, that trips me up too.
I
'Cause I'm
always
like,
think about that
how?
in the relation of time too.
Yeah.
What was
'Cause,
that
like-
movie, The Last Starfighter?
I'm not sure.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, where he goes away as a child, like 30 light years away to so I think it was like to Andromeda
Mhm.
galaxy,
Mhm.
and then he comes back and everybody's like drastically older.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
that still doesn't make sense to me.
But it's accurate. So, okay,
Right.
there was this did you guys ever hear about the thing where like if you were to put a mirror a light year away and look at it through a telescope, you would be looking like 100 years into the future or something like that?
No, but what
It's-
the
dude,
fuck? That just hurt
or
my
in the
head.
past. Future
The
past.
concept of like light travel is so baffling to me because I've heard that one a lot, and I've heard the other one I've heard is if you were to get into a spaceship and travel at the speed of light to a point and back in a year, it's like your great great grandchildren that you would meet.
Yeah.
And you would not have aged at all, but they would be like children.
You know,
And-
I think of a movie that did that really well. Like if you had taken the time to watch it, I'm not saying you should, but Lightyear, the Toy Story spin-off
Oh yeah.
for
For Buzz.
Buzz,
Yeah.
Lightyear does that because
Oh,
he
really?
does this trip that it goes there and back, but within that time frame of him doing this test or whatever, the time on whatever planet he's on travels, I think it said something from like 8 or 10 years or something. So every time he comes back, a decade has passed. And so he keeps meeting the same chick who like originally got him set up to do this test run of
Yeah.
this spaceship. And so when he first meets him, obviously they're like, I don't know, like 20 something. And then she gets married. And then he goes again. And then she has a kid. And then he goes again. And then they're really old. And then he goes again. And when he comes back, the daughter, you don't know at the time, is standing there. And he's like, oh, so and so. And she was like, that's my mom. And he's like,
Mm.
but where is your mom then? I just remembered you like this big and like this old. And she like has to break it to him, you know, like she's not here anymore. And it
Yeah.
like really messes with his time and space because he himself has maybe only like aged a couple years.
Yeah.
But it's
Right.
been decades on this
Mhm.
planet for them. And it does a really good job of like your mind just could not even fathom like what the fuck just happened. I have no idea how much time is spent and
Mhm.
like
Do
he
you
doesn't even know how to
why?
act
Like, do you
Yeah.
know why that happens?
specifically.
Yeah.
Like to explain it? No.
Gravity.
What?
Oh, yeah,
Gravity.
obviously. Yeah.
Gravity is what causes like
Aging?
the aging process. So like the reason that you traveling out and traveling back and like you wouldn't age but the people here would have is the difference in gravity. I don't know the complexities of it,
Yeah.
but based off of what I do know, it has a lot to do with how time passes in relation to gravity. And so that's why you have so many of these movies where they say like I know a lot of them have come out in the past decade or so where it's like
Interstellar.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they'll go to another planet and they're like you have to be careful cuz going down there 10 minutes is like a year up here or whatever. It is because it's the way that the planet's gravity and like the pull and everything works differently. And like I don't understand the complexity of I don't think I ever will understand the complexity of it, but that is something that I think of a lot when I watch movies or shows or anything that have that kind of like theme in them. Mostly because I just can't like I can't imagine getting on like a 2-ton garbage can and skyrocketing through space
Yeah.
and it being a day and I come back and everyone I know is like 30 years
Right.
older.
Yeah.
Because in
Like
my mind,
Passengers is insane to me too.
Yeah.
right, in my mind, how I would always imagine it worked. Like let's imagine you guys have both seen Interstellar, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they leave that, I forgot his name, the black guy on the spaceship,
Mm-hmm.
and they go down to um the water planet. Like how
Yeah.
I imagine it, because they're right next to the black hole, is they're slowly going down and like it's slower, 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 and then they hit like the light is affected by it, but the actual like material is not. And
Yeah.
then like they're coming back, like time is still relative. 5 minutes is 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and so like the actual light that there and back, you'll still see like two spaceships. Like
Yeah.
that's how I always like think of it logically for myself.
Yeah.
Is because you'll see them travel down there, but you also see them heading back.
Right.
But the spaceship trail's still there on both sides.
Man.
That's
It hurts,
hurts my brain.
Yeah. Some.
right?
I think one of the reasons that space freaks me out is just because I can't wrap my head around so many things.
Yeah,
I think because time is involved.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like
Time itself is like I think the biggest thing that messes me up
that's
because
the
like
biggest.
the travel, sure. Could I picture someone sending the 2-ton garbage can through space to get to point A to point B? Sure. Sure. With the correct technology, but then time's involved on how long it would take for the point A to point B to take, how old the person would have to be, cryopods, and like who would have to be alive, taking turns to run the ship, but also like maybe robots are running it. But like if you're traveling, all the like people on Earth and how far they've been aging and compared to some maybe a different planet that has less or greater gravity, and like how that affect the body then. All those different like not constants, but like factors
Variable.
coming into play
Yeah.
is insane to me. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
can't.
No, yeah, that's one of the things that really gets, and that's why usually I'm not a huge fan of like space movies that have like, I guess, fictional concepts in them. Like
Yeah,
Interstellar to me is so mind-blowing, and I understand that a lot of it is very like conceptually correct, that it's like it teeters on fictional because it's stuff that could be true but we just can't say is confirmed, you know?
Mhm.
I hate movies like that because then my brain is like, okay, but this could be a thing.
Yeah,
So
like this
now,
could
Yeah.
happen.
like, is there a man behind my bookshelf? Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand what this reality is.
Mhm.
Versus like because I love space movies. I mean, my favorite movie of all time is a space movie. So, but I can't the big brain, like somehow a dude colonizing Mars makes sense to me, but like time travel within space travel doesn't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even though they're
That's
both
fair.
fully
Like I have so
plausible,
many
I
theories
guess.
about like creation and stuff for like space and stuff, and I'm like, dude, this is not even delving into any other like
Theories
concepts
that
that
are wrapped
actually could
into
like
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
theories that could
Mhm.
actually happen. Like this
Yeah.
one big thing. Like if I were to ever write a book, it'd always be like how we came from Mars, ruined it, and then got on Earth, and now we're ruining it again. And it's like that was just like always a concept of mine because
Yeah.
it's so much of the same.
Yeah.
And it's like because the whole planet is you know rust now. It's like with
Yeah.
industrial and stuff like that. I was like, oh man, like there's so many connections to what things could be, and we don't know what happened before Babylon, and
Right.
supposedly humans have been around for 100,000 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we've lost so much history. What happened? You know?
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
Well, and then you get the shows like Ancient Aliens that are just like
aliens.
inexplicable aliens. Inexplicable things that are like, how did we go through this like almost, negative bell curve of
Yeah.
advancement in technology and knowledge, where it was like ancient civilizations were like super fucking smart, and then somehow we took a dip and then we went back into the upswing. Like, how does that kind of thing happen to where like aliens does sound like a plausible thing?
Yeah.
But then the idea that maybe it's not necessarily aliens but us from a prior planet and having
Right.
to like reestablish, like that's an insane thought.
Even just thinking about like the wonders of the world and like how people
Yeah.
are like, but how did they make them? Like, where are they now? And
Aliens.
like, there's like the before looking at it, like, oh my god, these great structures. how did humans make these? Where did they go? Where's the
Yeah.
history of it? Why wasn't it written down? Like, there's so much that if we were to take a blink through time and go back to, say, when the Hanging Gardens were around or some shit like that,
Yeah.
and ask the people nowadays, because obviously they didn't write that shit down. They
Right.
would just pass it word of mouth, or like actually the people there would have seen such a structure and then been like telling their families and so on, and then eventually it just either gets forgotten, not written down, or just obviously the structure would have been destroyed henceforth. But just being able to see one of those wonders would have been so amazing. And it's just
Yeah.
so, I can just picture the bell curve just looking at that,
Yeah.
and how those structures are just so grand and just, whoa, how did humans even do this? And looking at
Right.
structures now, I mean, it still is like, whoa, but it's not to that degree.
Yeah, we know the technology that it takes to make a skyscraper. But
Yeah.
if we found like a skyscraper from like ancient Egypt, when all we found was cloth and tools that like
Mhm.
could not even like fathom the idea of that,
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, how the hell was that made? You
Well,
know?
Mhm.
and doesn't it ever make you think about how like it took us so long to get to this point, but there's like theories out there of like, well, maybe these civilizations who were super advanced, like, you know, Egypt building the pyramids and da da da, maybe the reason that that wasn't common knowledge was because this was like an inherently smart group of people that kept within a smart group of people. They didn't branch out and, you know, marry
Right.
into other civilizations. So the knowledge that they had just died with their people, or
Mhm.
it was more diluted over time, or however you may have it. Because there's theories out there like that, and then there's theories
Mhm.
out there that are like, okay, well, but also, what if it was just dumb luck? Like, oh, we built them this way and it's working, so we'll just keep building them this way. And I think
Yeah.
things like that are so interesting to think of, because like, can you have super smart mistakes? Like, absolutely. But like, you're gonna tell me all of these wonders all around the world were a whole bunch of people experiencing dumb luck? Like, I don't think so. There's
Yeah.
gotta be some reasoning behind it. And like, I would subscribe to the idea that maybe, you know, inherently smart people came up with these concepts, and due
Yeah.
to the
Mhm.
time period and how culture and mixing culture was, they just kept the knowledge within their own people. And then as we
Mhm.
Yeah.
diluted and became
That's
more of a
fair.
melting pot, we got the advancement to make things like skyscrapers and, you know, nuclear power plants and whatever else. But it
Mhm.
is an interesting thought. And I think playing a story, or like building a story around that gap, like filling in those blanks, is such an interesting idea for like any sort of media, a book, movie, TV show, anything you want.
Mhm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not talking specifically about like structures and stuff, but have you guys ever heard of the Nazca lines in Peru?
Yes. The
No.
big
They are by far one of my coolest quote unquote alien possible things on this earth.
they
And
And
like
always
it's,
crop
remind me of
circles.
like murder lines. It's like, what
yeah.
died there, man? What was that died?
Yeah. Well,
But
they're
like
not necessarily crop circles, but they're like quote unquote crop circle designs if you want to take it to like the alien route.
Yeah.
Um but there's like the spider, the monkey, the hummingbird, and the condor are like some of the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's miles long etchings into the earth of pictures of depictions of these quote unquote animals or things. And
Mm-hmm.
no one knows where they came from, who did them, where the civilizations are now that could have done it, because all around those lines or whatever, there's not a trace of human life anywhere
right.
Dude,
within
honestly,
miles.
the history of people fascinates me. Like, when I think what really did it for me was I went to Mesa Verde, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
seeing how that civilization lived, and like, it's just things that you would never think of. Like, these people took a root from the yucca plant, and they
Mhm.
just built an entire civilization off of it in the side of a cliff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, if
It's
we were
insane.
if an EMP hit the United States, took out the internet, took out technology as a whole, I doubt any motherfuckers would think of shit like that.
No, not one
It's
bit.
just so insane to think of. And like, part of me is always quick to believe that that's the reason that we have these wonders and stuff, is because they didn't have technology to do it for them. They didn't have machines to program how things were going to be built. They
Just
didn't
Yeah.
have like engineers and science and mathematics the way that we do now that can be computed so easily. So they
Yeah.
had to just do it themselves, and so they
That's
used their brains.
that's what I
Mhm.
always like. That's what I always feel about like arts, like
Yeah.
back in like
Yeah,
like
that's true.
not Van Gogh. Who
Da
painted
Vinci.
the Sistine Chapel?
Da Vinci.
Was it Da Vinci?
Michelangelo.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like that quality of just by eye,
Yeah.
you know, like
Like he's just hanging up there.
Yeah.
But I feel like
That's just
it's because he didn't have any noise,
Yeah.
you know, and so
Yeah.
there's so much noise now. All we can think about is just blocks and modern and
Yeah.
minimalistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like because everything is just so humming that we can't actually focus on like the beauty of things. And
Can
so
I? Oh,
no,
sorry.
you
Go
can't.
ahead.
What's up? Go ahead.
No. Go
Just
ahead. Go ahead.
No, but-
Fuck
I
her.
was just saying. I was just saying, like, yeah, I just feel like nowadays things are so easily accessed. It doesn't take ambition to find answers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like things like I could totally understand like if it really was a lot of people, ambition and a vision, and you know, even if it was just like a ruler and a king of Egypt that made the pyramids, like I can see that.
Yeah.
But
I
Yeah.
can.
like tool wise, I'm like, I'm on the fence about it. But I'm like,
Mhm.
you know what? If they got 10,000 people to bring in one block up at a time, and it took like a shit ton of years to do it, I can see it.
Yeah. And that's
Mhm.
I'm so ready to subscribe to the idea that because they didn't have any other way to do it, they just figured it out. I am
Yeah.
so because that is that not humanity at its core? It's just figuring shit out. Like
Right.
that's 100% of what we do basically all the time. So it's not that impossible of a thought. And so when people are like, "Oh, how did they do it?" I'm like, they just did it. I mean, like, how do you get out of bed in the morning and do the billion things on your to-do list? You just do it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's really no ifs, ands, or buts. I think you're overthinking the complexity of it. Yes, it is highly advanced for a civilization, but it's also a civilization that we were not a part of. We don't know how their brains work. We don't know the
Mhm.
way that they computed math and science and measurements and weight and anything like that. I mean, we can
Right.
take huge educated guesses based off of the information and the artifacts that we found, but we're never going to know because we weren't there to witness it. And so I mean, the truth of it is we have these wonders. They built these wonders however they did it, and it's just badass regardless of like it's just a
True.
really cool thing that humanity has done at some point in life, and something that we're never gonna, because if you were to make the hanging gardens now, it's gonna look like a fucking IKEA display, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
Right.
gonna look like a fucking cube.
yeah,
It's
it's
gonna look
never gonna be as cool as it was because we don't use primitive technology, and that's
Yeah.
almost a bummer.
Like
But
that's
also, the
yeah.
world is so much more tarnished now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too modern. You can't
Yeah.
have beautiful ancient aesthetic look
Yeah.
nowadays. Like that would look weird.
Yeah.
Imagine placing the hanging gardens in the middle of New York City. Right
Right.
next to like
Yeah,
Times
absolutely
Square
not.
or some shit like that. Like that would look so insane.
And there's no
Granted,
more
would it look
natural.
cool? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
probably.
it would be so off-put
And
It wouldn't
and
be a
so
wonder of the
look
world.
distant. No,
even
it would not.
even if you were to build something like that, it would look like an art installment before it would look like
Right.
like a wondrous thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's a message rather
Yeah.
than just like here's something
Yeah.
beautiful for the world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man, we made this because
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is, can I tell you about my like artistic epiphany I had a few years ago?
Yes, please.
I did a thing because I had never done it before, where I took a canvas and I sat in my living room and I closed all the curtains and I turned off like every device that was in the house. My roommate at the time wasn't home, and I brought out an acrylic paint set and I just fucking painted. And that, to me, to this day, it is the art piece that I am the most proud of because I just shut all existence out and did it. And that is, I think that speaks volumes to like what you can accomplish when you are just in your own
Turned off.
element.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I feel like that contributes to the idea of these people of the past who created these incredible things. they created them because they were in their element, because they were able to sit there and like focus and think and hear their own thoughts and be in the moment doing what they either enjoyed or what they had to do without any outside distractions. I go to work now and I have 2 monitors, and one's got, you know, whatever on the side that I'm researching, and the other one I'm working on, and then I have my phone in front of me, I'm answering text messages, and I have my iPad playing music or a podcast or a YouTube video, or I'm on Discord, and people in the office are talking, and there's construction going on behind me. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Everything's so loud.
Everything is polluted. It's all polluted with sound and visuals and all of this stuff. There's just like, there's no focal area.
I truly think, and I've been contemplating this for a while now, is just like a day or two just turning off my phone, not turning it on for anything. Going just about my day. Don't even touch my computer. Like, probably go on a hike, go to the park. Just like,
I do that sometimes.
Do it how, just do it how I did it when I was like 6. You know, like read a book. If I want to play a game, I'll play a board game. You know, just like get away from electronics. And but I'm so like afraid that as soon as I do that, someone's gonna need me.
Yeah,
you know? I think that's what's nerve-wracking.
That is so psychologically, this is something that we see in society a lot. We've gotten so off the topic about space.
It's fine. We're still talking about space and time.
Yeah, true. But psychologically, this is something that we see in society these days. Is it's almost like a built-in, not FOMO, but like kind of like a fear of like abandoning responsibilities by getting rid of technology.
It's like modern day fire.
It's your quote unquote lifeline.
Correct. So we have this innate fear that the second, because as humans, we believe in Murphy's Law, right? Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So the second that you don't have that thing that connects you to everyone, something is going to happen that you are required to have that. And because you don't have it, it is going to be some sort of emergency situation. And it is the likelihood of you turning off your phone right now and in the next hour someone needing you of dire emergency is so low. But because our brains are hardwired to think of every worst possible situation, that is the first one you will go to. Is if I turn off this phone, my dad is going to collapse and my mom's going to try to call me and I'm not going to be there.
Maybe like it's text back.
Yeah, it's literally
I should call him.
I should call her. But yeah, that's what we immediately think of. There is a thing that I do that I would recommend to anyone, because it's no secret to those who know me. I've dealt with a lot of mental health issues the past 4 or 5 years of my life. And it boiled over at a point where, like, I'm glad that I had the support system that I had to coerce me into reaching out to get help, because it was a really bad time. And it was like height of pandemic, like everything had just gone wrong. And I started doing this thing, which is when life gets really overwhelming and it gets really, really scary, I plug my phone into my charger and I put it on the opposite side of the room. And I just like do something for myself, whether that be sleeping or doing some sort of like spa treatment, but it's always without any sort of connection to technology. So like, I don't turn on the TV while I'm doing this. I don't play music. I don't hop on my PC. I barely even look at it. And I just like take an hour or two to myself, and I allow myself all of the scary thoughts. I set that time aside, and I allow myself to go through all of those terrifying thoughts, all the things that are bothering me. If I need to have a breakdown, I have it. But the second that that's over, those thoughts stay there. I'm not allowed to think of that stuff outside of that allotted time. And it is super, super cathartic, because it gets everything out that I need to. Like, I can have my breakdown, I can throw my tantrums, I can be existential, I can be fearful, I can be vulnerable to myself. And then it makes every other aspect of my life easier, because now that I've allowed myself that time in that very specific scenario, it does not affect my time outside of that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I would really recommend because I started doing it like that and now I do it on walks. So I allow myself to like overthink and do all of my crazy stuff when I'm outside walking. But if I'm not walking around my neighborhood, I'm not allowed to think about that stuff. And it's a lot of accountability for sure. So it
Oh
might
yeah.
not work for everyone. But if you are able to hold yourself accountable, it is a super easy coping mechanism to work into your life. And it's good for you because it's showing yourself like self-compassion at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like a
I
little bit of
mean,
self-care
you
day.
start loving
Mhm.
yourself again, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like your focus goes away from like the world back to you.
And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like those moments, because like you have to let yourself experience that stuff, you know, like you have to
Yeah.
let yourself feel scared and feel emotional, because if you don't, you bottle it up and then terrible things happen. You snap on friends, or like it starts affecting like your mood every single day, or the way that you do your work, or whatever it might be. But I just I feel like at some point you have to come up with a routine way to deal with it, because like shit does not get easier as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Like
Yeah,
having that support
yeah.
system is gonna be really good for you.
Yeah.
And like how you described like how you take your time to like think of all those bad scenarios or like things that you just want yourself to feel for a moment
Mhm.
and then you just set aside time for that. I kind of do the same in like little bursts because I can for just a long period of time, but then I don't want to get it to the point where like I start spiraling because then it's
Yeah.
really hard to get out of it. But I allow myself little moments like that, and then I like to think of it as like putting it away in a box. And
Yeah.
like I'm not saying the box meaning having to bottle it up, but putting it in a box for another time.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't need to deal with it now. You
Yeah.
don't need it to let it encompass your entire life in this moment, but at least for a moment, you can open the box, think about those times, maybe tell the box some other things you're worried about, and then close it. You
Yeah.
don't have to think about it for that time, but at
It
least you gave yourself that X amount of time to deal with it.
it definitely
Hmm.
helps just to have some sort of time to give yourself to you, because like I used to be the type of person, like if anybody mentioned anything about like what happens when we die, like is there an afterlife, is it oblivion, blah blah blah, I used to be full-fledged panic. And now I am like cool as a cucumber, because that's for my allotted time for me to panic about. It's not for right now.
Hmm. That's crazy just to think about it all, you know?
Yeah. Like I get like when I especially like one of my disconnects that I was planning on doing was I have a telescope that I'm planning on like looking at night.
Hmm.
And then like I'm like, oh, what am I gonna see out there, you know? Because
Yeah.
it's very
UFOs for
vast
sure.
and dark. Yeah, it's very vast, dark, and
But
like I've
exciting.
been
Oh wait,
yeah.
what are they called
Huh?
now? They're not UFOs anymore. What are they? UAFs, right?
I don't
I
Wait,
thought
know.
they were just UFOs.
wait. A
I'm not
wait.
I'm not grasping with this new lingo.
They wait, hold on. What are UFOs called now?
Did they really change the
Uh-huh.
terminology? Ew.
UAP,
It's PC
unidentified
now.
aerial phenomena.
Pass.
That's what
UFO.
they're called. Yeah, they're still called UFOs.
Pass. I'm gonna watch the Scooby Doo movie that dealt with aliens after this. You're
Oh,
welcome.
good choice. Good choice.
Yeah. One of my rational fears about space though,
Hmm.
branching off what I just said, like there doesn't have to be a system for a planet to be a part of. So
Yeah,
there can be planets just out there, just
right.
wandering.
Rogue planets, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like it just concerns me, you know. What if one comes along and just ruins everything? Happy thoughts.
How much
Happy
would a
thoughts.
how much would a planet, because it would just get pulled into like our gravitational field, right? Or like I guess technically the sun's.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but like there's a constant pull between all of the planets.
Right.
Just we're at this like calm dance with each other
Oh, I
because
see.
yeah, so if like something were to come in, probably like the size, like if it was the size of Jupiter that came in through, like we're all flying away. Like it's just
Just
not.
everything's fucked. We're going
Yeah,
into
It's doomed.
space. Goodbye.
because well, think about it this way: since we're in the Goldilocks zone, like if we call just a two like I forget how close it is, how much closer we have
Something
to
really small.
get. Yeah, it's a super small increment towards the sun. We're burning. If it's
Right.
Yeah,
like super
everything.
far away, we're
Just
freezing.
inferno.
Right.
If something disrupts that on the slightest, get your suntan lotion
Yeah.
or a big jacket.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, but also, I mean, at any given point of the time, our poles could swap, and we could all just drop dead anyway.
Exactly.
True.
So I mean,
Well,
happy
and also
thoughts, happy
COVID.
thoughts,
A little
happy
too far.
thoughts.
Yeah.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, I used to watch like Neil deGrasse Tyson and
Yeah.
Bill Nye Science Guy growing up,
Yeah.
and there was this one video that I was watching where if the sun just disappeared, like Earth would survive
Yeah.
because everything would freeze over, but all the plants and animals that are on geothermic like survive off of that, they'd live on forever.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's Europa, which is, or is it Io? Something, I think I forget what a moon of another planet. That's what they're basing their facts about life on. That moon is
Yeah.
for because of the geothermals.
Yeah.
And so it's like
Interesting.
happy thoughts.
Funny, both of
We won't
those
die.
are Europa and Io are both Io's a moon and Europa is like a place in Warframe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Happy
Isn't
thoughts.
Warframe a space? Oh,
Yeah, Warframe is space. I just didn't draw the connection until right this moment cuz well I didn't realize that they based it off of like real existing
Actual places.
Yeah. Cuz
Yeah.
we have I mean like Earth, Venus, Jupiter, like all of that's on there, but I didn't Europa and Io and all that I thought it was like made up.
That's fair.
Yeah, so they're both moons of Jupiter.
Yeah.
I think Jupiter has how many moons? Like 40 something?
Well, they like 38 specifically.
There's so many moons.
So Jupiter has around 80 to 95 moons.
Yeah,
Oh, my
there's
bad.
so many.
I was wrong.
Yeah. I forgot.
Yeah.
Because like what we consider a moon, like some asteroids are considered moons just because they have
Yeah.
orbits and they're structurally sound.
Yeah, but then then you have like asteroid belts and like rings on planets and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like
There's-
Saturn.
I think it's
Like how many moons is
crazy.
that, you know?
Brian.
I think it's crazy
True.
because like I'm so used to seeing like diagrams of what our solar system looks like that like
Mhm.
when NASA like releases like actual photos and stuff, I like look at it and I'm like, this shit ain't like the textbooks at all.
Where's
That's
the little
nice.
red dot for Mars?
Literally.
Or my circle with the
Yeah.
red storm for
Well,
Jupiter.
then it's like you think of things like when you can see planets in the sky, like when they're like, oh, you can see Mars tonight, you can see Jupiter tonight, and they're like these
Yeah.
tiny little specks, and I'm like, God, we're so much further away than like what I think we are, just because
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
textbooks they cram everything down into this like non-scaled, picture
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
show
like-
what the concept of order of planets
Exactly.
are.
Yeah.
Or like size difference, like how I'm smaller than both of you two at the table right now.
Right.
Yeah. But that's like true. So
yeah,
anyways,
that's like
besides
for
the point.
real, you know.
Like
So
Jupiter, they always make it look like so big, but then you're like, okay, but it's not like that much bigger than Earth, you know, like in a picture.
And then you see it.
But then they scale it up and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I know,
Or when
it's
it's
so
like, how many
big.
Earths can fit in the sun? And then they just list the big ass number, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, have
but-
you ever seen there's like an like a website you can go to that has like all of the comparisons of
Mhm.
like not
Yeah.
just our solar system but like other big
Stars and
known
stuff?
about like stars or planets or whatever that we've identified. And it's
Yeah.
like you look at the size comparison and you're like, Earth is fucking tiny.
Yeah, they're like, here's Earth, and it's like the top of like a pin, and then
Yeah.
it goes the sun, which is like big, yeah, but then they put like Beetlejuice, for example,
It's
next
like-
to it, and you're like, Jesus Christ, our sun
Yeah.
is small.
It's like putting a grain of sand next to like a beach ball, and you're like, here's Earth, and here's the sun, and you're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like, there's
can't.
so-
My brain, I
God.
can't.
Yeah, there's just some things you can't fathom. Like if you so
Yeah.
there's Scuddy. It's the largest star we've identified.
Mhm.
And if we were to place it where the sun is now, it would engulf everything.
yeah, that's
Like,
see,
it
that's
would-
the whole solar
insane.
system.
The whole solar system past that.
See, that's the
Jesus
thing. It's like
Christ.
you don't like we don't even realize, but our sun is tiny.
Our sun is on like the lower like side.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like another fun fact: every star that you see in the night sky is larger and brighter than our sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that's smaller or less dim, you can't see in the night sky unless you have zero pollution. Like not even zero pollution. Like you have to use like telescopes.
Did you know, like a lot of the stars that we can see are actually like in between solar systems?
Mm-hmm.
They're like not actually part of a known solar system at this point. They're like navigating.
It could also
in some
just like
weird
not
space
be there
between.
too. It could
Yeah.
just be like time wise.
There's a lot of lonely stars.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
That's so
And
cool.
another thing that I found like truly like
Bizarre.
scarily awesome is there's a small chance because of how light travels that one night the whole night will light up with stars, because with the Big Bang Theory,
Mm-hmm.
there could be a whole wall of stars like all around us that we haven't received the light from.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be so cool.
That it would be.
It'd probably mess up with a lot of constellations, though.
Yeah, but it would also just be incredible to witness, like either like the birth or the death of like a shit ton of stars at once.
That would be so cool.
It would
like
be
imagine
so
from far
cool.
away seeing a star go supernova.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so fucking sick.
You can witness that. Have you ever seen like people see stars die all the time because like it'll be this tiny little glimpse in the sky that, and then it'll like twinkle a little bit and then it'll be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like you can see the death of a star. I know it's so really hard to catch.
It's just a size thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
size and brightness. Like Beetlejuice, we will see for sure when it like we won't, but like
yeah, but like I do want to. Like the million years thing is kind of like they need to hurry up. Yeah. Like I want to see it. I want to witness.
But also, you know,
go boom in the sky.
It's like a million, give or take, like a few 100,000. You know.
Yeah, but like I don't live that long. You know, like I'm personally attacked.
I mean, if
I don't
you get Neuralink, you might
take a multivitamin. You good? I do, but I still won't be able to make it. Damn it. One day.
Well, we have gotten extremely off topic and we've run close to 2 hours now. So do you guys have any last things you would like to mention about space or stars or...
I'm gonna have an existential crisis after this.
Yeah, look up Super Saturn. That's all I wanted to say.
Look up Super Saturn.
Yeah, Super Saturn.
Okay. Is it gonna make me existential?
It's gonna look cool.
Okay. That didn't answer my question.
Hashtag Curiosity Cove Super Saturn. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Look. You know what's even more crazier though? We're gonna get our next episode of Curiosity Cove earlier than expected as next week because Friday we've got things going on. So by the way, next podcast will be taking place on May 8th, a Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. And also will be taking place with our astrology corner. As Tank said earlier, it is Taurus season to everyone out here. Yeah. And as always, remember Coveys, keep it real,
but keep it curious. Goodbye.
Bye.